Hi, I'm Ben Spicer with Wannabe Draft Analyst. Today we're going to be taking a look at Florida's defensive end Dante Fowler Jr., who declared early this season after having a spectacular year with the Florida Gators. Dante Fowler Jr. is a sensational edge rusher who combines speed with strength, and many have projected him to go as a top 15 pick in the NFL draft. So we're going to go ahead and get straight into some highlights as well as some expert opinion, projections, and draft analysis of Florida's Dante Fowler Jr. Enjoy.
He's got Hurd alongside. He's got a 2nd and 9, 1 minute to work with, and one timeout. Here comes pressure. Hurd tries to pick him up, couldn't. If that's a fumble, recovered. Fowler was in on top of him, and it was recovered by Kentucky.
Fowler's a freak show.
Here's a look at Dante Fowler Jr.'s credentials. As we mentioned earlier, Fowler Jr. was a defensive end at the University of Florida. He's 6 foot 3 inches, 261 pounds, and runs a very fast 4.6 40 for his size. He'd had 19 reps at the bench press at the combine, as well as a vertical of 32.5 inches and a broad jump of 112 inches.
Seminoles need 2 on 3rd down. Cook is to the right of Winston. Amos is going to throw. Flushed out. Gets away. Stays alive and is now dropped. A sack on 3rd and 2. Dante Fowler pressured him. Jameis gets up a little slowly. Darius Cummings was there to clean it up.
Well, and I'll tell you, most of these routes, Chris, were taking a long time to be run by the Florida State receivers. You watch these guys go downfield, with the exception of a crossing route here over the middle, who he had, but he had to avoid Dante Fowler. Everybody else was running downfield, and eventually the Gators close in on him. Cox misses him low, and then 2 big Gators come in there to finish it off.
As you can tell from some of these quotes, a lot of the scouts are very high on Dante Fowler Jr. NFL.com's Lance Zerlin said that Dante Fowler Jr. has Pro Bowl ceiling with double-digit sack potential if he takes coaching and addresses his rush technique. Bucky Brooks said if he continues to kill it at his pro day in a series of private workouts, Fowler could cement his status as a top 5 overall talent. CBSSports.com's Ryan Wilson said University of Florida defensive end Dante Fowler Jr. could be a top 3 pick in the 2015 NFL Draft.
1st and 10. Jennings is going to throw it. He slips away, and he is sacked. That was Dante Fowler rolling in at the right time for the Gators. Ball came first, and then Fowler cleaned it up.
Florida's done a nice job mixing up their pressures, not just from defensive linemen, but ball coming from depth. And he was the one that almost got Jennings, forced him to flush outside the pocket. And you just mentioned it. Fowler there to clean up the mess.
Here's a look at some of the projections for Dante Fowler Jr. WalterFootball.com has him going 5th overall to the Washington Redskins. DraftTech.com has him going 11th overall to the Minnesota Vikings. DraftCountdown.com has him going 13th overall to the New Orleans Saints. Todd McShay of ESPN in his 3rd released mock draft had him going 3rd overall to the Jacksonville Jaguars. And lastly, Mel Kiper Jr. in his 2nd mock draft had Fowler going to the Saints at 13th overall as well.
Garden. He'll be dropped.
Guess who?
Dante Fowler Jr. His 3rd sack today, and this young man going out in style. Loss of 8.
He just can't. Right there, fakes inside. Now he's one-on-one. Once Trey Robertson, or excuse me, Ike Harris sets, he just sets a little bit too far back, and it gave Fowler a beeline right to Shane Carden. Got a little bit too deep in his pass set. Fowler does a nice job of letting everything take place and then delayed in his pass rush.